dude, Corky Romano changed my life.
I'm spending money. You won't give me what I asked for.
Why is Sebastian the Crab so goddamn sexy?
I'm going insane right now.
Andrew Tate Angel Food Cake. Oh, have you seen Snuffleupagus? This is bitch.
Like we were talking about people earlier where it was like, we're talking about people that want to talk about like a neighborhood but have never visited any type of neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like going to like a local, like a real barbershop. Like I knew there was a guy, like I used to go in New York when I lived in New York City. I had a bunch of barbershops that I would go to. And one of the shops I would go to was this like shop in Harlem. And I fell in love with it because they would have dudes come in and sell stuff. But
Like vendors?
because you have like the guys that sell like pirated DVDs and they sell clothes or whatever. It's not just those guys.
Right.
My favorite guy, because like again, I grew up in a pool hall, so I love like hustlers. Like I love seeing somebody that comes up with a new hustle.
Yeah.
Like I love it so much. And there's so many like good hustles. Like I was telling Danielle about one of my favorite hustles I ever saw in New York. We were walking down the street. We were right in front of McSorley's in the Village, and this guy comes up to us, and he's kind of disheveled, but he's not like dirty. And he goes, "Yeah, man, dude, I was out drinking and I got rolled." He goes, "I'm not homeless," and he goes in his pocket and he goes, "Look, this is my car," and he pulls out a Mercedes like laser cut key, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But again, like I grew up in a pool hall, so I know what this is. Yeah. He's hustling and he has a prop.
Right.
And I was like, dude, this is amazing. And he's like, what? Like I go, dude, this is the best hustle that I've ever seen. I grew up around hustlers. This is the best one. And you could tell he didn't really know what to do with it. He goes, why? I go, dude, and I gave him a 20 spot like right there. I was like, this is legit the best hustle that I've ever seen. I go, and I was like giving him critiques on it. I'm like, dude, don't change a thing. Your approach was great. Everything was great. Like your look is great. Like everything. And he's like, what is happening right now? But again, like I love like a good hustle. Like a dude that's really like
to call that dude on his hustle though, and just sit there and give him advice. He's like, what the?
Well, I mean, there was no advice to give. The dude was killing it. Like
right.
legit, you have the best prop in the world because especially if you're like, again, it's a guy that knows his marks and knows who he's trying to talk to. The dude walked up to guys that clearly don't have a Mercedes but recognize the logo.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, it's something that would work on people that look like we look. Now we're two broke comics. But he doesn't know that.
Right.
But you're like, as somebody that sees that on grew up around it, that's something that you're like, oh, I love that so much because it's an element of creativity that a lot of people like miss. You know what I mean? Like in the barbershop, that barbershop I was talking about, a dude like came in and he was selling like power tools. But he was wearing pants and boots, and he had like this yellow crossing guard vest. And he goes, "Yeah, I got power tools," and he's selling them for it's so funny because he tried to sell it. He started out. He goes, one of the barbers goes, "How much you want for that sander?" And he goes, $100. And the barber goes, "Nah." And then the guy goes, $10. And he goes, "Sold." And you could just tell he's like, oh, I did not handle that negotiation well at all. I had so much to play with.
There was so much room.
He sold it. But it took me a minute to realize that when he sold it for $10, I realized the dude and then he folded up his construction vest and then put it in his back pocket and then just walked across the street and ate lunch. And you go, oh, that dude just walked on a construction site. He just stole a vest and then just took some power tools and then walked off. And you're like, dude, that's one of the most amazing hustles.
It's great.
Like, dude, like when you find a gimmick like that, I don't say you can say gimmick because there's so much more art to it than a gimmick. Like I've seen gimmicks
right.
And they're so corny, it makes me roll my eyes.
Yeah.
But dude, when you see a guy that really understands the way the human mind works, especially like average people.
Yeah.
Because like on some level, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm on stage telling a story, really trying to I'm bringing people into this world.
Yeah. Every time you say the other day.
Yeah.
you're throwing it at them because that wasn't the other day. You might have wrote that joke a year ago about something.
Well, it's even more like just bringing them in. Like, it's kind of a thing where it's like, I always feel like in comedy, the thing you want to achieve is you're striving to paint a better picture than you were 6 months ago, a year ago. Where it's like when you start out, all you want to be is funny. And then once you learn how to be funny, you want to be funny consistently. And then once you are funny consistently, then you learn you want to be funny in your way. And then you really find your voice. And then it becomes like you want to bring people kind of into this world that you create. And it starts out, you just like, I just want people to be interested in coming in the front door. And then you're like, oh, but I want them. And then once you kind of get them in the front door, you go, well, I want them to kind of want to see the whole house.
Right.
And then by the end, like you get to a point as a comic, if you keep evolving, where you're like, I want to be so good at this that I want them to be able to smell the paint drying. Like that becomes your goal.
Yeah.
Where you're like when people come to see me, I don't want to just make them laugh and have something that's funny but forgettable. I mean, we know tons of comics. There are comics that are all over comedy club walls all over the country that were very funny.
Yeah.
They were funny. They could make you laugh and clap, and you had fun for an hour, but you don't remember anything that they said when you leave. And you may remember their face, but you're not like. It's like seeing It's kind of like just seeing like a whatever movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like seeing like a Chris Kattan movie.
It was good.
Where you're like, I've seen so many Chris Kattan movies where I'm like, oh, that was fun. And if it popped up on Netflix,
right,
you're like, absolutely, I will watch Corky Romano because I'm sitting here. But you're like, I've never looked at anybody in the eyes and go, dude, Corky Romano changed my life. Like, I'm a different person because I was this guy, and then Corky Romano came in, and then I'm all different. And that's no knock on him. Like, I'm not talking trash about him because anybody that creates, on any level, you got to tip the cap
100%.
To who they are and them trying to be that person.
As long as they're honest, they're not
right?
Just trying to, they're not just creating stuff at the easiest way to get somewhere, like to gain fame and fortune.
100%.
As long as they're a true artist, yeah. I appreciate all art. I love all art.
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk.
Mama! I'm free! Free! Free to burn!